Hi, my name is Tomasz Poszetek, and in this video, I would like to simply do an introduction, make a walkthrough of Microsoft Dataverse for Microsoft Teams, and I would like to help you understand why I think that Microsoft Teams supplemented to Microsoft Dataverse can be considered as a new digital workplace for companies, as a new collaboration hub for companies. So, in my personal opinion, Microsoft Teams now with Dataverse is somehow experiencing the same journey as SharePoint used to have years ago. So that SharePoint was originated from the remote file storages, from those network file storages. And then it actually was given an interface to create own applications, own solutions using the packages, the WSP packages. And so companies actually started to create any kind of applications possible on SharePoint. So it was no longer only a tool to help companies to store files and version them, keep an access control on them, but as well to create a bunch of applications from HR, IT to financial and processes and like anything. Companies were even building CRMs on top of SharePoint. And well, today with Dataverse for Teams, we are actually in the same place. So Teams originated as an application mainly for communication, for like to replace Skype. But today with Dataverse, with support for coding for custom applications, it is actually allowing us, developers and power users and citizen developers as well, to create any kind of solutions within and for Microsoft Teams users. All right, so to start with Microsoft Dataverse, the first thing you have to do if you don't have yet Power Apps application pinned here is to go and click this ellipsis icon here. And here you should be able to find the Power Apps application. If not, simply type in Power App. And if you don't see Power App in here, you don't even have to type it very carefully. So if you don't have a Power App application here, then most possibly your Teams administrator has turned it off. And so you need to ask your Teams administrator to allow you and the whole company actually to use Power Apps, so the Dataverse for Teams. If you're lucky enough and you're not working for such a strict company, you should have this application and you should be able to pin it. Now, once you pin it in so that it will never go away, the next step you have to do is actually to navigate here. Now, the Power Apps is simply here like a center of Dataverse for Teams. This is the main interface where you can see all the apps, all the flows, all the virtual agents that you have created, plus all the tables, so the Dataverse tables, and as well environmental variables. Basically, the Dataverse for Teams is just a light version of Dataverse that we can use as a commercial, or the one that we can use with Dynamics CRM. Now, under the build, you'll see all the teams that you're a member of and in which there is something already created. Let it be flow, let it be an application, let it be a table. And then once you navigate through these teams, you can simply see what is actually created. Any team member by default has an access to all these items and can contribute, so like they can simply collaborate on creation of them. Now, if you want to create a new application in a new team, then you simply need to navigate back to Home and hit to create an app. In this model window, first thing you have to do is to simply select a team where you want your app to be created. Now, if you select a team that already has an app created or anything already created, then it will simply create it from scratch very fast. Now, if you choose a team like maybe SOC team that doesn't have yet any application created, you'll see this small information here that this creation will take more time than usual. Now, this is because each application, each flow created in a team that doesn't have yet anything created on Dataverse actually provisions an environment for that specific team. Once you navigate to admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com, you'll notice that in your in the list of teams, in the list of environments that you have, you'll notice that apart from the default, the trial one, the sandbox, and maybe the personal one, you'll have also a list of these teams those environments that are created for Microsoft Teams, right? So these are those light environments for Teams. So now let me create this new application for the SOC team so that it will take a longer while, but it's not, again, long minutes, it's just like a minute or two. All right, so now the environment is provisioned, and now the Power Apps is simply opening the designer for Power Application. If I now go back to the Admin Center and I refresh that view, you'll notice, oh, sorry, that was a refresh button as well. You'll notice that there has been created, there has been provisioned this new environment for the SOC team. All right, so let me navigate back. And the scenario that I want to discuss now with you is about the creation of a simple application, of a simple, let's say, solution, where users are going to use a chatbot to share their hints, their tips with the organization. And then the application here is going to be actually used by, let's say, the admins of the whole process to review the submitted hints. So I'll call it the submitted hints because it will be used as said to explore what is being submitted, what is the approval status, and so on and so on. Now I'll need to create two tables to make this application work. The first one is going to be called the categories. It will be just storing information about the categories to which the hints can be submitted. And then the other one is going to be this main and the main table that is going to actually store the hints, that data. So first I need to create a table. I'll call it categories. Sorry, categories. Now this working with the tables in Dataverse for Teams is really easy. If you have any experience with working with quick edit mode in SharePoint or with SharePoint lists, this is just nearly the same. So I'll keep the column name. This is where the category name is going to be kept. And I'll also create a new column that is going to be an email type. That is going to be the approver. Now here I will use the approver who is going to be the Adele Vance, who is one of the employees. And now I need to create the categories. So I'll use AT, I'll use HR, for example, and maybe like the last one, the well-being. Oops, well-being. And I'll put Adele as the approver to each of these categories. All right, so that one is set. Now I can simply close it. And now I can as well go and create a table that is going to be called hints. All right, so first is going to be the hint name, and then I need as well to create several other tables that I'm going to use. So the next, several columns. The next column is going to be called a description. So for this, I will use a text, and I need to change its length to like 1000, so that to give more space to write a description. Then I also want to store the approval comments in that record. So once the hint is submitted and approved or rejected, I want to know why. Then I also want to store information about the approver, so who actually finally made the approval. Let me just change it to 300. Now the next column I want to use is the idea ID or the hint ID. And for this purpose, I want to use this auto number column. It's really cool. So if you have like experience with MySQL or PostgreSQL, you are able to create auto incremental columns. And this is kind of the same thing. So I want to use this prefix string type, and the seed value is going to be 0. Let's say the max length is, doesn't matter. So each value that is going to be created, each record that is going to be created is going to be auto numbered from like ID 0001, ID 0002, and so on and so on. Maybe seed value is going to be 1. All right. Now the next column I want to use is actually the status. And this one is going to be the choice. So now if you have seen like screenshots from how the Dataverse for Teams looks like, then those columns are the most, let's say, visible and vivid, because they allows you not only to define the values of the choices, but as well to define these colors. So then as you have data and these choices are set, then the rows are really colorful and they look really pretty. So I'll just use 3 colors. I'll use the approved, I'll use rejected, and I'll use the gray one for new. Okay, and then the last column is going to be the category, and this is going to be the lookup to the table called categories, right? All right, and that's it. Now I can close it. All right, now what I want to do is now navigate back and go to build, and now under SOC, I already have those tables I've created and the application. Now I'll just leave the application for a while, and what I want to do next, what I want to create next, is to create a chatbot. Now Power Virtual Agents is actually the only application that we have here on the Dataverse for Teams that does have like its own separate interface. I mean, it still opens within the Microsoft Teams canvas. However, it's not opening like within the Power Apps. So I'll call it submit hint, or just submit hint. And so now the bot is being created. It is also taking like a long minute, but just 1 minute, not 2 minutes, not 3 minutes, not that much. So just watch this awesome animation, this awesome GIF. And the reason why this creation of bot is taking a little of time is that because now there have to be tables provisioned in the Dataverse environment, which are going then to be used by the bot to store the topics, to store the conversation information, and so on and so on. Okay, so now I don't know if you have an experience with the chatbots. If not, then I highly encourage you to visit my YouTube channel, where I have like a whole series of introductory steps to work with Power Virtual Agents within Microsoft Teams. And this will help you to understand what are topics, what are skills, what are entities, how to publish a virtual agent to Teams, how to publish it elsewhere, and so on. Now, for this purpose of this presentation, let me just go through the very basics of the virtual agents. But believe me, this tool is really powerful. It has a lot of functionalities that leads you to create a very powerful chatbots as well to help you solve a lot of issues. Now, the first and the most important area around the virtual agents is or are the topics. The topic, actually, one topic is telling the bot how should the conversation look like from the beginning until the end. So in topic, we define the trigger phrases. Let me just start with a new topic. We define those trigger phrases, which are telling the bot what should the user write or what should the user type in the conversation to tell the bot, I want to talk about this specific topic. And so once you put in the trigger phrases, it reads you have to put it 5 to 10 trigger phrases. Then the AI is building a model that is going to be used later to identify or to calculate this similarity percentage. That if user types in a sentence that doesn't actually fits or is not equal, not the same as any of the trigger phrases provided, but has the similar trigger keywords, or maybe the meaning is similar, then the bot is still going to be able to say, yes, that's the topic I need to go and to start. Now, the topic I'm going to use is going to be called submit a hint. Not very clever, maybe not very creative. And now let me just write down a set of trigger phrases. I have All right, so this will be my like 5 trigger phrases. So right now I'm able to simply navigate to authoring canvas. And now in the authoring canvas, you're able to build in this visual mode, like drag and drop, what you see is what you get, approach, the whole conversation logic. So first, the bot is going to greet the user. Hi. Now I want to use user's display name. And luckily I'm able to do that because the bot is simply working inside of Microsoft Teams. it is aware of the user's context, of the user who is using the bot's context. Under the variables, I have two global variables predefined for me I can use. The first one is the user display name, well, of the user who is now conversing with the bot. And the second one is this user's Azure Active Directory ID that I can use, for example, in Power Automate to get more context, more information about the user. So here I'll just display the user's name. And now the bot is going to ask several questions like what is the name of the hint or the tip, its description, and the category. So first it will ask a question. And here to identify this outcome, I want to use the user's entire response. There are many more of those identifiers, the entities. So basically, whatever you choose is going to be used the way that is going to extract a specific value out of the sentence. So if you like choose the age entity, then if the bot is asking you for the user for an age, and the user responds with words, not with the digits, then the bot is still going to be able to extract the actual value from that whole response. However, for my purpose here, I want to get user's entire response, and I'll call it title. The second question is going to be about the description. And here again, I want to get the whole response, and I'll just rename the variable to description. Now the next thing is going to ask the category. And right here, I want to use the options. So I want to show a user an options that they can choose from. And here I'm going to have like HR, IT, and the last one was the well-being. And again, I'm going to rename this to category. All right. And so once the category is selected, the bot will simply now display all the information. So it will simply show what the user has submitted or has already provided. So the title, description, and the category. And now what I also want to do is to actually have that the all outcomes from all the categories are merged in this same question. So what I need to do is to drag this small dot here and put it on the dot of that branch, of the first branch. So let's once again get the point, the dot, and now all the outcomes are simply merging into the same branch. So now the answers here are going to be yes and no. And let me just do it very easy. So if this is no, then the bot will simply try to, well, re-ask all the questions. So the user will be returned to the first question. However, if this is going to be yes, then the bot is going to not display a message, but is going to show a message. Right? And the next step it should do is to actually call the flow. So here under call and action, I would see all the flows which can be used by the Power Virtual Agent. If there are no, then simply I need to create a new flow. I just save this topic. And once this is saved, I will go here again to call an action and to create a flow. Now here you can see that the flow, the Power Automate Studio is now being loaded. And because I'm navigating this Power Automate Studio from Virtual Agent, then I am presented all the templates around Power Virtual Agents that are currently present. So the very basic one and the, let's say, most complex one. Well, I want to start and I want to use this very, very basic template. So whenever you're creating Power Automate, the flow for virtual agent from scratch or from the template, there is just one or maybe two requirements that it has to accomplish or fulfill for you to have this flow or to make this flow be available for the bot. It has to have this trigger, so the Power Virtual Agents trigger, and it has to have these outputs, right? So it just sending back information to the agent so that the agent is not waiting endlessly for the response from the flow, but is simply continuing the conversation. And that because my flow is also going to do the approval, I need to use this parallel branch so that in one branch, the outcome is going to be sent back to the agent, and then in the other branch, there is going to be the whole approval. Now, what I also want to do, I need to define several inputs. So first, I need to get the title from the user. Then I also need to get a description from the user. Description. I also want to have the category. And lastly, what I want to have is this user ID, so that you'll see why I need it and how to use it. The next step is going to, first, I need to query Common Data Service, Dataverse, the local current environment, to get the category approver. To do that, I am able to use this Common Data Service current environment set of actions that is free to use in the Dataverse for Teams. So with that, I am able to query all the tables that are created in this current environment built for Microsoft Teams team. So from that set of actions, what I want to now use is to list records, and I need to list the record which, from categories of course, categories, and I now need to define this OData filter query to get only that record which has the title or the name equal to the category selected by the user. Now I don't remember how it's called, so I'll simply navigate to my environment. I don't remember how it's called, so I'll simply navigate to the environment where I created a table, and I need to preview the internal name of that column. So once you navigate to a table in Dataverse for Teams, you'll see like an interface that if you have any kind of experience with the previously called Common Data Service, then that's nearly the same. So you have all the columns for the internal names. You can switch between the views and so on. So the name is CR157 name, and now I need to use it here, equals, and now between the brackets I need to put a category. All right, so first I need to list records. Now the second action I want to actually create is to create a new records that will create a new entry in the hints table. Sorry, it should be hints. So the name is going to be the title, then the category. Nope, I need to make the relationship later. Now description. Hint ID is going to be auto-generated, and what I can as well set is to set the status to new. All right, now the next thing I want to do is actually to get information about the user who submitted that item. So I will navigate to the set of actions called Office 365 users, and I'll get user profile. To get user's profile, you only need to have either email or this principal name, or actually the Azure ID. And this Azure ID, in my case, is the user ID here. So with the user ID that the bot owns or the bot knows passed to Power Automate, I'm able now to get details about the user. Now, the next step I want to do is to get user's image. The avatar, the photo, user, no, gosh, not this action, sorry. I need to use get user photo, that one. And here again, I need to provide user ID. And now here is where the whole fun starts. The next action I need to do is to actually relate the record. So I need to relate the created record with the category. So to use this action, so first I need to choose the categories. Then I need to provide the category ID, which is here. Okay, so now this action was put into a loop, into a for each loop, because the list records, even though it will always return just one record, it is still returned in a table format. So because of that, Power Automate thinks there can be more than one record. Therefore, by default, it puts the that action into the loop. But well, that doesn't matter. Then we need to select the relationship. This relationship is hints, and then the URL. So this is that OData record ID that I need to choose from the created record. So this way I can create a relationship. Now the next step I want to do is actually to post an adaptive card to the approver responsible for that category. Now I have here the adaptive card created on the side. Let me just show it how it works and how it looks like. I mean, it's not going to be really fancy, but let me just show you. Right, so this is the adaptive card I want to send. So it will be bit from the image and some details about the submitted hint. And then under the approve or reject, it will also allow the approver to submit their comments. And then what is very significant or important is that the button under approve or reject, the OK button, this submit button actually, has its ID. And then once the card is submitted, I will then evaluate the submit action ID value. And if the submit action ID value is going to be button approve or BTN approve, it will tell me that the card has been approved, so that the hint has been approved. But that's in a moment. So now I need to choose Microsoft Teams action and submit adaptive card to a Teams user and wait for the response. So that's actually the action that I want to use. Now the recipient is going to be approver that I have from the list records, and then the message is going to be this adaptive card code. Now I need to change a little bit of the codes of the content. So first I need to put here the image. For that I will use the data URI to transform the body to get user photo into data URI, because this way I can actually provide it in a base64 format. And then what I have to do as well is to replace these values. So now I need to as well get the created. So the created on. I also need to get the title. So I'll use this title, and then I will use the category. And I also can use the description. Right, description. And then I'm also able to close this adaptive card as it is completed, so that there is no other possibility to submit it again with information like thank you for approval. And I also have to select this show update card to yes. Now the next action is going to be actually a condition. Unfortunately, there is still a pending bug in this action that disallows it to show its dynamic outcomes in the list of dynamic content. So what I actually have to do is I need to again manually input this. So let me just write it down, and I'll just clear and I'll just explain you how it works. So I'm going to use the outputs of the previous action, and then from the body of these outputs, I want to evaluate the value under the submit action ID. And this value has to be equal to BTN approve as discussed, because this way I will know that the user clicked this button, the BTN approve. All right, so if that was the BTN approve, I then want to update a record. So I'll go again to Common Data Service and to where it is, update a record. So here it's going to be in hints. Now the item ID is going to be, the hint. And now what I want to actually do is I want to get information about the approver. Sorry, not in the expressions, but here in the content, so the approver. So why it doesn't filter? Okay, let me just try it again. So again, the approver. To get the approval comments, I can use the same expression as I used to obtain the outcome of the approval. However, its path is a bit longer because it's not body submit action ID, but it's body data. And then I need to as well get the identifier of the field, which is the approve comment. So I need to put it here instead of submit action ID. So this way I can obtain the approve comments, and I can say that the status is approved, right? So now this is approved. And then I can provide the same one for the rejection. So again, need to use the update a record. I need to again use the hints. Then to use hint as the global identifier. And then I can simply just copy paste the same information here. However, the path here is going to be different, so I need to not use the approve comment, but to use the reject comment, since when I go to the reject, this field has a different identifier, so it has the reject comment. So I'll use the reject comment. Then the approver, I can use the same value as here. And then the status is going to be rejected. Fine. So now I'm able to save the flow, and I'll just navigate back to come on, the Power Virtual Agent that I want to create. And right now, when I go again to the actions here, and I'll use the call in action, I should be able to see moments ago created flow. I need to provide those values here. So the value, the title, description, category, and user ID, and maybe display a message. All right, so let me just save the bot and let's check how it works. I'll just reset this this test bot just to be sure we are working fine. So now user types in one of those trigger phrases. Now you can see that the bot greeted me with my name because there is this global variable used. And lastly, it is asking me about the category, so I'll just use, for example, the HR category. Now it asks me if all the information I've provided are correct, so I would say yes. And now what will happen right now is simply the bot is going to trigger this Power Automate, so it triggered it, and now it also displays me the information that the hint was submitted. Let me just check if the flow was triggered successfully, if there was no error. So let's go to the run history. Well, it displays it's running for 15 seconds, so it's kind of a promising. Well, it seems to created the record, it went well, it has possibly created the relationship and so on. Fine. So let me just navigate back to Power Apps. And to the SOC team details. So let's see if there is a new record in hints. Or maybe even, you know what, let's do it a different way. So I'll just go back to build and I'll navigate back to the Power App application that I'll simply use to, to review what has been submitted. So once again, SOC team, and then to the application. So this way, I'll just go into the edit mode application, and I will be able to connect it with the data sources and use it to actually check if there is any data already submitted. Okay, now let me just add the data. So I'll use hints. Here I need to combine hints, and I also need to combine, bind it with hints here. So now what you can see is that this hint has been submitted. It is in status new. And what I can do as well is to go back into, not go back, but to navigate to Adele Vance, who is approver, and to see in her private conversation that she has been sent this new adaptive card by my flow that is asking or requesting her to approve my new funny description desk tip submitted for HR. So she can say approve and simply complete this approval process. So as I navigate back and I simply refresh this data, here the status should be now saying approved, the comment is set, and the approval information is also set. So this way we are actually able to create this application and bind it with the information. So let me now submit it and publish it to Teams. By publishing to Teams, you are able actually to share this application with anyone within a team where it was created, and to actually add it to a channel. So I can select the channel and I can create a new tab where I want to add this application, and I want to save it there. This way we are saving or sharing this application with other team members so they can use it very easily. Now, the very important thing about sharing this application is the permissions for the data. So once you navigate to hints, you need to define what permission access you would like to give to other team members regarding the data. So because we want actually everyone to be able to send data to the Dataverse, so to create new hints, but maybe we don't want them to delete them. Therefore, we need to select this manage permissions here and say that members can actually collaborate. So they can create new records, read the records, but work on only the records they have created, right? Or maybe if you'd like to just limit the information they can see to only that they have created, then you can choose the private. Then speaking about the guests, I would say the private is quite enough. Now, if you'd like to share this application with other members of a tenant, with other employees, then we can as well say we would like to grant them access only on the private level. Then speaking about the categories, we can as well define here different permissions. So here we would like anyone to be only able to read, not to do anything else with the information. So just we want to give them access to read data from that table. All right, so now when you would like to share this application not only with the team members of the team where the application has been created, you need to simply select it and hit this button here, share with colleagues. By that, you are able to share this application outside of the team where it was created. So for example, you can share it with Contosa. You need to provide here a security group that contains less than 1,000 members. And yes, we want the application that to be allowed to be used by the team members. All right, so if you would like to share this application with every member in your organization, then you need to do this a bit differently. So first you need to go under Build, then to See All, and then to Apps. And now once you select the submitted hints, you'll see here this button Add to Teams. Now once you click it, you'll be able to simply download this app as a zip file that later you should upload in Microsoft Teams admin. So now once I navigate to Microsoft Teams admin and to manage apps, I'm going to be able to simply select this application and upload it here so that it will be available under the apps built for Contoso. Once I can here hit upload, then select this file that I just have created. And this way I can see that this application is now here published and is allowed. Now speaking about the bots, this situation is a little bit different, because if you want to submit that bot to be used by the whole organization, not only by your team members or even by the team members of your team, the interface is a little bit different. So you need to first go into the publish. Now you need to publish the latest version of your PVA. Once this is published, you need to hit to share the bot. Now here you can either add it to Teams so that you'll share this with your team, or you can submit for admin approval, and that this way it will be shared with everyone in your tenant. So now once you hit submit for approval, you need to hit it a couple of more times, and then this is being sent for approval. It takes again a minute for the operation to be completed. You can see now the status, and now once you navigate back here to your applications and you simply refresh this view, you'll notice that there is this submit hint bot present here, but its status is blocked. Now once you turn it from blocked into allowed, or publish and then allowed, you can see that okay, its status just has like automatically been switched to allowed, and so now everyone can use it. All these applications that have just been published are available once you navigate to apps. So once you navigate to Contoso, you'll see all the apps that have been created by the team members of the teams you belong to, plus all these applications that have been created and are allowed to be used by anyone within the tenant. So here you have the build for organization, we have the submit hint and submitted hints, and also these applications that are shared with like from other teams with us. And so this is how it works. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it was a very deep and understandable walkthrough, and that you got a the bigger picture on how the Microsoft Dataverse for Teams work, and how can you create applications, and why I actually find this platform as the digital workplace for employees in your organization. If you have any questions, simply write them down in comments or try to contact me via any social media channel. Please subscribe, please like the video, and I hope we'll just see each other in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.